So good morning, grade 4. Before I tell you about what we'll be doing today, I have a little challenge for us. No, we can't see it, but I have two. Can you see it? I have two sentences up here on the board. So the first sentence, can you guys read enough to read it?
Yes. Take the cake out of the oven when it is brown.
Awesome.
When the cake is brown, take the cake out of the oven.
Sorry, they are two sentences, but thank you so much for reading. Can somebody please tell me what they think would be the strongest sentence? So the sentence that will make you imagine more or want to read the story more. So we got take the cake out of the oven when it's brown, or when the cake is brown, take up the cake out of the oven.
The second one.
Yeah, why do you think that?
Well, personally, I just like when the cake is brown rather than when take the cake out of the oven. I don't know, it just seems like you get the information you want quicker.
Awesome. So these two sentences have names. Could somebody please tell me what they think the first name would be? Starts with a
Sam.
Yeah, it's basic. So that's a clue I'm going to give you. Basic. It's a basic sentence. I'm sure we covered it in previous classes, but simple sentences. Awesome. And what about the next one? Can somebody please tell me what they think that sentence is called?
Would it be a complex sentence?
Yes, it will be a complex sentence. So a complex sentence has an independent clause and at least one dependent clause. Can somebody please tell me what they think the dependent clause will be in the sentence?
Did you say the dependent?
Yeah.
When the cake is brown.
Awesome. And then that will make the second part of the sentence the?
Independent.
Yes, the independent clause. Awesome. So that is a complex sentence. So it's a little bit more simple sentence, because a simple sentence is a sentence consisting of only one clause with a single subject. So today we are going to do something very exciting. We are going to build our own imaginative text. We are going to be doing it. Next week we'll be writing our own imaginative text. So we'll be doing a diary entry. Don't worry, today we'll all do a diary entry together. So, and we'll also be learning paragraph structure and also sentence structure. We'll also be learning about the First Fleet of Australia. So I want everyone to please put their thinking caps on. Make sure it's nice and tight. Awesome. I've got a story. This story is about Esther. The Miss Vernason was a little bit silly. She cut it all up. So I would really like us to work together and we can build it together. So teachers note, I'll get the kids to pick up their hat to create a little bit more engagement, but I will be doing that today. The king was charmed by Esther, and he picked her to be his queen. During their time as queen, an evil man named Haman convinced the king that all the Jews in the kingdom needed to be killed. When Mordecai found out about the plan, he sent word to Esther and told her that she needed to speak to the king. Esther was afraid, as it was forbidden to go before the king without being summoned. Only the king was pleased and held out his scepter, and the person accepted into his presence. If he did not, they will be put to death. Ooh. So I'm going to read the first sentence again. Where do you think this goes in the story? The king was charmed by Esther and he picked her to be a queen. So I want you guys to think back about the story of Esther that we learned when we were, the story of Esther. Can somebody please tell me where they think that'll be in the story? Cassie? I'll read the first sentence again. The king was charmed by Esther and he picked her to be his queen. Do you think maybe it could be in the...
It could be in the start, but it could also be a little bit in the middle.
Awesome. I love that you picked that up. It's pretty vague, hey? But yes, it's in the front, on the top. So our next sentence is, the king was pleased with his wife and he gladly held out the scepter to her. She told him everything and Haman was put to death. The Jewish people were given permission to defend themselves if anyone tried to kill him. In this way, Esther saved her people. So from that paragraph, I don't think we can actually put that in place. I think we're going to pick out another sentence just so we can know the full story before we put it together. The next one. When King Xerxes ruled the Persian Empire, he found himself looking for a wife. All the young maidens in the kingdom were taken to a palace and given beauty treatments for a year, after which they sent before the king for him to pick his wife. When Hadassah was taken, her cousin Mordecai told her not to let anyone know she was Jewish, as they hated and trusted among the people. So she called herself Esther. Oh, so Miss Van Asen made a mistake. Can somebody pick up on that? Does that possibly sound like the beginning more than that one? So I'll read the first sentence. When King Xerxes ruled the Persian Empire, he found himself looking for a wife. Where do you think that's going to be on the top, hey? Can somebody tell me why that would be on the top? Yes, Mitch?
You introduced a context. You said when it was and who some big characters were.
Yeah. So, and our next one that Miss Van Asen thought was first, so the first paragraph gives us a description and describes and sets the scene, and the second kind of goes after he picked his queen. So as you can see, the story's moved along. So we're going to pick up another one. Mordecai told Esther that she had to try and speak to the king regardless, because God had put her in a high position so that she would be able to save herself. Queen Esther commanded all the Jews, including herself, to fast for 3 days, at the end of which she went before the king. So we got 2 left. So I think we can just have a vote of which one goes next. So I'm going to read the first sentence. First sentence for one of them is, the king was so pleased with his wife that he gladly held out the scepter to her. And then the next one is, Mordecai told Esther that she had to try and speak to the king regardless, because God had put her in such a high position. Which one do you think will be next? It will be so much if you guys could see this. I'm sorry. So for time's sake, I'm just going to put them on. So the next one is, Mordecai told Esther that he had to try and speak to the king. And then the next one was, the king was pleased with his wife, so they gladly held out the scepter to her. Awesome. So I know you guys can't read it, but I'm just going to read out the story, and I want to stop after each paragraph. When King Xerxes ruled the Persian Empire, he found himself looking for a wife. All the young maidens in the kingdom were taken to the palace and given beauty treatments for a year, after which they were sent before the king for him to pick his wife. When Hadassah was taken, her cousin Mordecai told her most to let people know she was Jewish, as they were hated and mistrusted amongst the people, so she called herself Esther. So that paragraph sets the scene and tells us why Esther became queen. And then we got the conflict, which is Mordecai was told that she had to speak to the king regardless because God had put her in a high position. So that's a complication. And then the next paragraph is the conclusion. So what happened after the conflict? All right. So, I want you to be like Esther. I want you guys to be brave like Esther, but also I want you to be brave, just like a little boy that we'll be talking about a little bit later in the lesson. So I want us to all stand up. Everybody stand up. I want us to open the door to our time machine, and I want us to walk into our time machine, and I want us to twirl around so we go back in time. Awesome. So let's take a seat now, guys. So, welcome to the 1830s. Got a little video to play for you. So this next video is going to help us write our diary entry. So I want us to put our listening ears on, make sure we're watching to see the video, because I would like you guys to take notes, okay? So anything important, just jot it down, because we're definitely going to be discussing it later when we're making our diary entry. Sorry, I'm just going to play a video for you.
By 1815, thousands of convicts were already living in New South Wales in makeshift huts, tents, and even cottages, mainly in the area that is still known today as the Rocks. In these early years, child convicts were not treated differently from the adults. Everyone had to find their own place to live. As the number of convicts increased, it was necessary to find a way to house them and to control their work hours. How do you think the colonial government responded to this problem? In 1817, Governor Macquarie commissioned the construction of Hyde Park Barracks to house unmarried male convicts working in government. Between 1819 and 1848, the barracks housed convict men and boys. It became the centre of administration of all the convicts in New South Wales. About 50,000 convicts eventually passed through the gates. This included many boys who slept in hammocks in the sleeping wards, ate in the mess halls, attended the barracks court when they misbehaved, and were sometimes punished there too. On arrival, they were given a set of clothing: a blue and white striped cotton shirt, white trousers, a blue jacket, a leather hat, and a pair of shoes. They were marked with the broad arrow, a sign of government property. This prevented items from being stolen or sold by convicts. Convict clothes were known as slops because they were sloppy. They were all one size and made for men, so they were probably too big for the boys. They might have had to make a pair of braces to hold up their trousers. Before dawn, the convicts were woken by the ringing of the barracks bell, and breakfast was served in the mess halls, a tasteless cornmeal porridge called hominy. Marching out in their gangs to the work sites around town, the convicts ate their main meal at 1 p.m, which consisted of a salty meat stew and bread. At sunset, they returned to the barracks for a sort of roll call called a muster, and to retire to their sleeping wards.
The convict boys that stayed at Hyde Park Barracks must have felt pretty scared and lonely without any of their family or friends around, and having to live among many older convict men. One 12-year-old boy, Dennis Finn, was lucky to have some protection because after he stole the cloak, he was transported to New South Wales together with his father, also named Dennis Finn. When they arrived in Sydney Cove in 1837, they were escorted to Hyde Park Barracks. That year, the barracks was more overcrowded than ever, with 1,700 convicts living here. Not to mention the hundreds of rats that scurried out from under the floorboards at night and climbed into the convicts' hammocks to nibble at their ears, noses and feet. Dennis didn't stay here long though. He was assigned to work on farms in rural New South Wales.
So that was a pretty long video, but I really wanted to give you guys an understanding and a little bit more so you guys can visualize the story a little bit more. So can somebody remember the boy's name in the video clip?
Dennis.
Yes, Dennis. What was his father's name?
Dennis.
Awesome. So I have this piece of paper, right? So next week, you will all be making your